What a juicy, juicy chapter. And we get the cliffhanger of Art saying, "We have a problem." Hello and welcome back to the couch. We saved you a seat. My name is Luke, and today we're checking out Chapter 6 of Artificial Condition. Yes, we're continuing the series of the Murderbot Diaries with the 6th chapter of the 2nd book. If you'd like to follow along, there's a link in the description. It's to Amazon. Go ahead and buy the book. Continue with us, and we're just going to keep going. So this is maybe the meatiest chapter that we've had so far. Last chapter was my favorite. I think the best chapter in this book so far. This one, a lot of meat. A lot of meat in this chapter. A lot of meat. You learn a lot. A lot. I want to begin with big details. We get a lot about the sex bots, the comfort units. We get a lot about what happened at this mining station, right? We do. We get a lot of Murderbot alone, again, for the first time, on how creeped out it is that it doesn't have access to the feeds and whatnot. It's kind of like the first time it slept without a nightlight, right? It recognized the immaturity of Murderbot. We get a lot of information about maybe what Murderbot had done in its previous job in order to hack its own governor module. We learn a lot. I'm just going to skip to the end. It was malware, supposedly, from another company in order to slow down production. I don't think that's what it was. Let's get that out of the way. I'm gonna put the predictions at the end, but I don't think that's what it was. That was the cause. It was for sure malware. The comfort bots in their data storage notated it. It came through them that they received it, that the techs approved it. This third party update, these files, it caused all of the issues through sex system. And it is the actual problem. It's what turned everything and everyone, excluding the humans, against each other. And we learn at the end that, the sex bots were kind of heroic. They were trying to save people. They were trying to be decoys. They can't use guns. They don't know how. Like, they knew how to use the guns, but in terms of the technical skill of shooting a projectile, Murderbot even mentions it. They don't know how to. And so that was good. The sex bot being the heroes of this story and it being tragic is awful and awesome. And Murderbot's whole opinion, I hope, kind of changes about the sex bots, right? Because it doesn't like them. It indicates that it doesn't like them. It seems like it doesn't like them. I had my theory before that it doesn't like them because of the amount of control that humans have over them, and how it doesn't like how they're controlled and super obedient. But we see in this chapter that these sex bots were able to, at least try to fix the problem, and they almost succeed. And then the final of the 4 runs into a problem, which we don't know what it is, which stinks. I feel bad for them. To me, it's this really heroic moment. Do you remember at the end of Rogue One, where the rebels are trying to get the plans to the Death Star down the hallway, and you just see Darth Vader's lightsaber show up, and we finally, as Star Wars fans, get to see Darth Vader absolutely destroy people. Like, we get to see the fear that was described since 1977, and why all these people fear this thing. We see it for the first time in this movie for 1 minute and 10 seconds. Super scary. That's what I'm imagining these sex bots dealing with 10 sec units and drones and everything else kind of targeting each other. I've gone on far too much, but shout out to the sex bots, I guess. They're the heroes of this one. We also learned that the sex system is super, 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 super bright, in that it will hide information that it's tracking in other places, in modular storage, in flash storage. It does that, and hilariously, that's how Murderbot knows that to do some of its stuff. It learned it from sex system, right? There's things that Murderbot has done through the first book and through this one that are pretty thoughtful, pretty smart. And this is one of those things that was programmed into the sex system that I think Murderbot would have picked up on. It would have been like, oh, I can do this. This is like a thing I can do in order to hide information. And it did. It hid the media in its own system in order to hide it from the techs. like Sec System does with its recordings and all of its information. Pretty cool little through line here. We also learned that we got to see Murderbot's biggest nightmare, which is tragic. Actually, I hate that it's so short. The anxiety that Murderbot goes through, the fear, it feels sadness, remorse, and seeing I imagine it went directly to the security room because inherently it knew where it was. Like, right, we know, like, it doesn't remember anything about this place, it says, but it goes right to the security room. It sees those 10 cubicles. It's like, damn. And opens each one. I bet the amount of relief knowing that there wasn't a SecUnit just in there inert for however long was kind of relieving, and then also super sad, right? Because it knew it got out and they probably suffered and are still suffering. Which leads me to my next thought, another prediction. We'll get to that. The other thing we learned is Murderbot got the people off the planet, or off the moon, right? We got the people off the moon. Now, this last line, maybe not, because obviously we have a problem, Art says, and Art's primary job was making sure that those 3 people made their way off the moon. We have a problem. But I digress. I don't think all 3 of them. Well, sorry. I like this chapter a lot. It was not my favorite. The last chapter was like just action, and there was things happening, and it was super well written in the way it was. Some of this was a little bit interesting, but yeah, we got those 3 people off the ship, and we did it with a private transport. We did it so that no one would notice them leaving. Yeah, Talasi has so many resources that thoughtfully Murderbot has gone out of its way to get them off the planet in such an interesting way. And so I'm interested to see how that kind of turns out. I imagine one of them stayed back, and it was 1 or 2, 1 or 3. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, that's what happens. Murderbot makes its way down to the mine where it thinks the mine is. It's creeped out the entire time, which I thought was super interesting. I like that there were hazard signs for radiation and everything at the barricade that it comes to first. And that wasn't an issue, right? We know that's not really the problem here. There might be falling rocks, right? But because they're on the moon. But regardless, and they're in a mine. But regardless, I like that part. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then it makes its way down into the mine, and it makes its way first to the SecUnit, and it gets to the control room, the control area, and uses a human receptacle that it has to power on through its arm weapon so that it can actually access it. And it goes through the files in the med system because it knows SecUnits hide information sometimes in other places. That's where it learned it. It's a pretty cool, interesting chapter. Super dense. The things that there was, okay, I'll say a few things that I didn't like. It felt like it's difficult for me to conceptualize visually what's going on. Coming from the background of something like Final Fantasy, or Final Fantasy, or some sort of future thing. When I'm thinking of a tube, I'm thinking of like a platform that's got some sort of receptacle that Murderbot could use to make it like travel down the tube while it's watching episode 206 of Sanctuary Moon for the 27th time, and then it comes to a warning. I'm thinking about this steampunky future looking thing, but you've got these, you've got technology that kind of looks like Halo, right? I'm kind of thinking like it's like Halo, but it's just a lot to think about, and it's not super descriptive. Because, for example, Martha Wells calls it a tube, right? But it's really like a platform or a transport. It's really this thing that travels from one place to another, and I guess they call them tubes in England. Maybe. I don't actually know. Let me know in the comments, please, because that would be really helpful, because I don't actually know. But there was a few times I kind of had to reread and sort of figure out, hey, what are we trying to say here? And then I was able to kind of read between the lines and sort of figure out, okay, here's what's being conveyed versus what's happening. initially I thought this world looked like I said, Halo, and then I got a little bit of like a Farscape universe at the end of the last chapter or the last book, and then it got to something similar to like an anime, like Cowboy Bebop, kind of steampunky, kind of Western, like a Western, noir, Western noir with some dramatic humans. Maybe let me know in the comments if you like that too. I don't mean to ask you to do all the work, but honestly. And so now I think now that we've sort of discussed the cool stuff that's happened in the chapter and Murderbot reliving its worst nightmare, I want to talk about my predictions. All of this is connected. We have already, so prediction 1, we have already seen sabotage happen in this chapter and in the previous book, or excuse me, in this book and in the previous book, used to cover up murdering. There was something or someone within this mind that they wanted to kill, whoever they is, this Illuminati group that Talacy is connected to. I'm assuming it's some Illuminati group that Talacy is connected to, so we're going on that hunch. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We're gonna have fun with this. That's it. There's something in this mind. When the sex bots talked about and Murderbot found out that they had decided to sabotage this mine in order to get their material out and it would be okay, they had to know what was happening. We're not going to dive into this. That's obviously a misdirect to me. It misdirected the sex bots. It misdirected everything. I'd be interested to see if Murderbot can find out who the tech was that initiated that download through that we saw in the med system, that we saw through the sex bots, right? That initiated the malware download that started this whole kerfuffle, that started this whole problem. My other prediction, it's Tappan. It's Tappan, because at the beginning of this chapter, it's Tappan the one who's like, but we have to stay and save our data. And it's like, buddy, they tried to kill you twice. They would have killed you the first time had you not had an elite Jason Bourne-like security unit on your side. You'd have been out. Dunzo. It's not your data to begin with, right? I bet it's Tappan. I don't think the other two stayed. I think the other two are pretty resolute in leaving. Tappan's like, we gotta save our data. But I think it's all connected. I do. I think it's connected to the first chapter. I think there's some weird cabal that's happening in the background, and the only thing that can rationalize what's happening and zoom out, because it sees everything from a television and media standpoint in drama and in a play, extra kind of way, is Murderbot. And Murderbot's governor system module doesn't work appropriately, and so it can kind of see what's happening. It can analyze things in a different way that not anyone else can do. So that's what I think. I think Tappan's probably somewhere on the mining colony, or on the moon or something. Not a mining colony, but on the moon somewhere. And yeah, and to be honest with you, I think it goes back to the alien remnants. That's my third prediction. I think everything revolves around this massive money scheme, right? Conspiracy time. Let's get weird with that. I love conspiracies. There are some conspiracies I think are true. Here's one. I'll give you an example. The Tom Brady roast that was on Netflix, right? It was great, super funny, crazy long, but Tom Brady signed a 10-year deal with the NFL and actually Fox to get paid something like $350 million to commentate games. But go figure, everyone doesn't like Tom Brady, right? Most people, I like Tom Brady for what he did. Most people didn't like Tom Brady. So what'd they do? They come up with a way to humanize him through this roast. Immediately, no one hates that guy at Fox. But had they not done that, people would have disliked the Fox broadcast. That's my theory. They made money off of it. They made beaucoup de dinero off this thing. It was a win-win-win, except for Tom Brady's kids, who maybe shouldn't have seen their dad get made fun of like that if he's their hero. Regardless, I love conspiracies. This is an easy conspiracy. There's money to be made here. Even Murderbot kind of says, somebody was liable it made sense on a financial basis, so they went ahead and had all this happen, and someone got paid on the back end. And if we call it sabotage, if we call it an accident, then no harm, no foul, right? If these sec units become murder bots, then we'll just wipe their memory and move on with them, even though they know exactly what happened. So yeah, those are my kind of predictions. Pretty good chapter. Like I said, once again, there's a little bit of an issue for me with conceptualizing the setting and seeing what is being seen, the distance. One of the moments at the end there, Murderbot talks about being in the tube and the lift the tube coming back to the surface or back to the transit port authority, whatever, and it's stopping and running out of power while it's watching Sanctuary Moon. So it just starts running. And Murderbot even says, had I taken the tube, had it been powered enough, I'd have made it like an hour earlier. So that's a long time. An hour running by a cyborg, I imagine, pretty fast. For me, I'm just going to say, my best hour time running, jogging, whatever, is like 8.5 to 9 miles. Probably a little faster. But I imagine Murderbot's running at like 25 miles an hour. Let's not get weird about it. So, probably running real fast because no one's there to watch it. But yeah, I really enjoyed Murderbot living its worst nightmare. Probably should have named the chapter. Murderbot reliving its worst nightmare. No feed to depend on, no nothing. Seeing the carnage that it thinks it might have done. Wondering if that's the reason why it happened. Trying to find any glimpse of any reason why it did. But listen, I'm rambling. I really like this chapter. This book is pretty good. Once again, if you'd like to follow along, there's a description there's a link in the description below. And yeah, we're just going to keep going every single day because it's getting better. It's getting more juicy. I like the little side quests here. I like this. And now I'm interested to see how this particular book ends. We have 3 more chapters, 7, 8, 9, and only about 30 pages. So I imagine it's going to be bam, bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. So once again, we'll see you tomorrow, right? If you like this content, please like and subscribe and share. But I believe that's it for me. Oh, we have memberships too. If you want to join and support the channel, you can. There's the membership's like $2. That would be great. Honestly, it would help. I might put something on my walls or something. But regardless, I think that's it for me. So until next time, later, taters.